This isn't dark circles, it's volume loss. And no amount of concealer fixes it unless you know where to put it. Today I'm teaching the technique that makes under eyes look smoother and fuller on our more mature eyes. So to get started, what you're gonna need are just a few products that you probably already have, so gather them together because just like cooking with a recipe, we need to start with the right ingredients. You're gonna need some hydration underneath this eye area. You're gonna need color corrector, peach salmon tones if you're blue or purple underneath. You'll need apricot or orange for deep discoloration, or pinkish beige if you're more brown or gray undertone. You'll want a serum concealer because they're more flexible, they're thin, and they're hydrating. A small fluffy brush for diffusing, a tiny detail brush, and a damp sponge. This is clean, doesn't look like it, don't judge. You'll need a finely milled powder, and lastly, some setting spray. All right, let's get these under eyes under control for 2026 because y'all are dating. Because where'd that come from? I did live in Georgia, so I feel like sometimes I can throw y'all and it feels natural. Okay, so I recently did a video about my husband and I. If you haven't seen that, I'll link it down below. It's really cute if you haven't met the captain yet. And many of you commented that this is the year that you are hoping to find your someone special. With that in mind, and as your midlife beauty bestie, if we haven't met before, hi, I'm Jody, I'm 55. Yeah, think of me as your midlife beauty bestie. And many of you are looking for that special someone this year, so watch for more tutorials very early this year on date night looks, because as your girl, I want to help you look your very best as you go out there and snag yourself a partner. They're out there, I know it. All right, so let's turn these hollow under eye areas into works of art, works of magic, that when we go out in public, we feel like you're not staring at this deep circle that says, yes, I'm old and I'm losing collagen, because who likes that? You're going to add the smallest amount, like half of a size of a piece of rice, smallest amount of a hydrating serum, moisturizer underneath your eye, whatever you like, but you don't want this to be really globby. So we're going to put it in this delicate under eye area, and we're going to let it sit for just about a minute and allow it to absorb. Products that I use will be listed down below. This is not a product push video. This is not QVC, although I love QVC. My concealer is rolling off the table. Speaking of QVC, you guys, I recently ordered this Tatcha from QVC, and I have not tried all three products yet. This is an eye serum, and I put it on my lips, and it really worked well. So I forget about QVC, but if you're looking to buy makeup products or beauty products, check out QVC. Today, this is not that. This is not about products. This is using what you have to get eyes that you want. And as I'm looking in the mirror, I'm realizing, you guys forgive me, I haven't even done my lips today. Let me do that real quick. All right, that's a little better. I used Blanketly by MAC with lip liner Subculture, also by MAC. Again, listed down below, but I just needed to do that because I'm doing a video and looked not complete. How are you gonna trust me with your makeup when I don't even have my lips on? Okay, now that my moisturizer has been underneath my eyes, hydrating that delicate eye area for about a minute, you're gonna wanna take a soft tissue and just lightly pat that over. You're not trying to rub, we don't wanna move, we're just picking up anything extra. Because what happens if we overhydrate this under eye area and leave behind some serum or some moisturizer is you'll notice that your concealer will slip into those fine lines and laugh lines even more so. And if you've got a hydrating concealer, then you've got a lot of slip on top of slip, and that really gets those deep concealer lines. You know what I'm talking about when you get in the car and you're like, why is there all my concealer is now in the deepest crack in my face? It's because we've had too much emollient base with then an emollient concealer on top. Now this next step, you want to map out where the hollowness is for your specific face. While I love scrolling through Instagram, speaking of Instagram, if you're not following me, here's how to do that. But I love scrolling through Instagram just to look at the way people apply their makeup. But inevitably, wherever people put concealer, it doesn't mean that's where I should put concealer, because the divots in my face, the placement, the symmetry is all very different. So in order to find out where it's best to put the concealer for your hollowness is bend your face. It's a very unflattering look, but I'm doing it for you guys. I feel like I could pull my chin back and it might even look better. But you want to look straight into the mirror like this. You'll see the puffiness, which is often a little closer to your lash line. And then you'll see the bright zone, which is this area right above your cheekbone. That anatomy is important to know because placement on those three areas will be important to get your best look. So we're going to start with the color corrector, and you want to put color corrector only where the darkness lives on your under eye area. Remember, the goal here isn't to fill the hollows under our eyes. You can't do that. The goal is to optically lift that area by controlling light and shadow with thin strategic layers. So with a very thin amount of color corrector, and I'm using, this is a newer one out by Sigma. Again, I'll link all this down below. Now this is where you're going to pick up that small detail brush. I'm going to add just a little bit of that color corrector. Think the top of a pinhead, not very much at all. That's why we're using a smaller brush. Now, when you go back and bend your head a little bit, you'll notice the trough is right above your eye socket bone or your cheekbone. So we're going to place that color corrector right in that area in a small line like that. I'm really excited about these upcoming tutorials. So if you aren't subscribed to the channel, now's the time to get subscribed so that you're notified when those videos come out, because you don't want to miss that. So now that the color corrector is in that trough area, I'm going to go with my finger and lightly press this in. You want to avoid putting color corrector in this whole under eye area because that leaves you with that heavy, cakey, wrinkly look that we're not going into 2026 like that. You are too beautiful for that. So we have wrinkles, we have laugh lines, we've lived a good life, but by golly, our eyes don't need to scream it from a distance. Keep reminding yourself thin layers is the key here. Now my eyes are gonna look a little bit different side to side because this eye has, while they're both hollow in this area above my cheekbone, this one has a little bit more puffiness. This one is definitely more hollow. So it's gonna require a little bit more work, where this one I'm not going to want to put as much brightener. So you just want to know that and adjust the amount of product depending on if you're working with puffiness or hollowness, or in my case, both. Using that same brush that you did your detail work with your color corrector, I'm going to go in with my concealer. This is the RMS Revitalize Hydra Concealer. It is serum-y. You can see it's very pigmented. It is full coverage, but it's not a thick full coverage, if that makes sense. It's lightweight, it's flexible, and that's what you're looking for in a good concealer for our more mature skin, because this is a high movement area. We have a lot of motion here, and when you put a concealer in that area that is too thick, it won't move as much as your under eye. So you'll start to see that settling. We want a concealer that will move with our under eye area. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that on the back of my hand, because again, less is more. Back to your trough lines and really focus just where you put that color corrector. And for me, those darker spots are right through here on that bone. If you learn anything from this video, my takeaway would be do not put your concealer right on your under eye area. You are just gonna have too much placement. That all leads to that cakey under eye look that you are not wanting, that wrinkly look. So you just put it on the back of your hand and grab your brush. I carry some discoloration through here, and then that trough area is right here. Now, last thing I like to do with my concealer while I've got a fine brush like this in my hand is go to this outer corner of my eye and just clean up any eyeshadow, because that gives a very polished, professional look. You're not using much product at all. Now you want to allow that concealer to set for about 10 to 20 seconds. This gives you the coverage that you want without having to add more concealer. Now here you're going to tap to blend, and I like using my fingers again for this. I feel like the warmth of my skin helps to mold and melt and blend that concealer right where I want it to go, which is from that trough line up to my under eye area, but not below, not on this bright part. That's already light, so you don't want to bring that concealer onto this cheekbone. If you prefer a brush for this process, this is where that small fluffy brush will come in. It's really nice for blending. And if you have long fingernails like I do, a soft fluffy brush like this allows you to get into the inner corners of your eyes without a trip to the emergency room because you stabbed yourself in the eye with your fingers. Once you've tapped that concealer in, grab your damp beauty sponge. I like these ones by Real Techniques because of the angle on them. It is a smaller one, but because it's damp and all the water is squeezed out, it is a little larger. You definitely want to use this damp, squeeze out the water first, and then just softly blend out that concealer, allowing your beauty sponge to also pick up any product that you might have left behind. Now this may feel like it's taking a long time, you guys, and that's just because I'm walking you through it. Once you do it for yourself, it's a much faster process. You'll get in the routine. By February, you'll have this down pat. Step number 5, and this is an important one, is you want to do what's called a reverse highlight. To camouflage this hollow, you brighten just below the hollow, so the trough stops looking so deep. Going back to that very small detail brush and a dab of concealer, you're going to get the tiniest amount of concealer, and you're going to place this underneath the belly side of the trough. So not on the high point, but think about it as like a belly, because that lightens it and takes the shadow away. Once the shadow's gone, you can't tell that there's a bump there. So for me, that's right here on this eye, because this is a puffy eye. So right on that shadow. And on this eye, it's right in that hollow. So depending on what problem you're trying to solve with your under eye area, your placement's gonna be different. You're just looking for the shadow and put the little bit of that concealer on the shadow. And then with your fingers, lightly blend down towards your cheekbone to lighten up this area just a little bit. Because we're working with such precision, this is a place where you're gonna need to slow down and be mindful of where you're putting these products and how you're patting them in. Otherwise, all that precision of where we specifically place the concealer will be lost. You just want to apply the right amount in the right areas to get that long-lasting, flawless, smoothed out look that we're looking for, that gives it that hollowness, more volume optically. Now you're going to grab your powder. You can use a fine brush for this. I just like using the smallest amount on my fingers. And you only want to tap in that inner corner, the outer corner, and then with what's left on your fingers, lightly go over the other placement of concealer. You really start to understand that the more layers you place on top of those laugh lines, the more prominent they become, and not in a good way. One of the questions that I get asked a lot, you guys, that I have not been able to solve, and that is a finely milled loose powder that's in the drugstore price point. I've tried a lot of loose powders, and I don't feel like I found one that is finely milled enough for our more mature skin to say this is a good one that's at a drugstore price point. If you guys have one that you really, really love, and you do have some wrinkles, laugh lines underneath your eyes, and you find that that powder doesn't settle, please let me know down in the comments. I would love to try it. I keep going back to my Givenchy because I just find that it works. I don't feel like I get that caking, or, you know, sometimes when you have too many products by mistake, it starts to bunch up a little bit, or look, yeah, bunched up, I guess is the best way to say it. I don't get that with this powder. And then finally, you're gonna take a small fluffy brush and a setting spray, and just get a little bit of that setting spray right on that brush, and just very lightly tap that fine work that you just did. Think of this as a hairspray for the fine style that you have just created, and by golly, we want it to last. And from here, you can go on and add a little bit of blush. I am using the Persona, this is in Caramel. I had it up a little bit and then closed the lid on it, and I'm really bummed about that because I absolutely have been loving this cream blush. The color of it, the shade is perfect, and it's not real pigmented, so you can work with it. Look at how nice it blends out. And it's just, it's called caramel, which doesn't really make sense because that doesn't look caramel to me. It looks more mauve. Caramel to me feels more tan or beige or golden. And this is none of those, but it is a great formula. Add a little across the nose, a little up the temple. And then when you go to add highlight, if you do add highlight, you just want to avoid adding highlighter anywhere in that troughed area where we've just done a lot of work to make it look brighter. Because highlighter will typically have some sort of a glitter to it, you don't want to add anything that's going to reflect light or draw attention to that troughed area. So if you do use a liquid highlighter, this is one by Rare Beauty. I really like it. Just add a little tiny bit on the cheekbone, but on the outer part of your eye. Not anywhere near that work that we just did, just to give a little bit of a lifting effect. All right, you guys, there you have it. Your new concealer routine is in your hands. Don't get frustrated with it. It does take a few times of practice to know exactly how much product you need and where you need it. And yes, it's an unflattering practice to go like this and look in the mirror. But once you've done it a time or two, you don't need to do it anymore. That is just not a view I like to see. I don't like that view of myself. So luckily I don't have to do that very often. But there, I just did it on camera for all of you. So what else? What's Midlife Beauty Bestie for? All right, you guys, that does it for me. I'll see you in just a couple days. Thanks for watching, and check out this video if you're looking for a tutorial in case you have a date night ready before I get my next tutorial out to you.